be screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the fourth part of, What If Hazbin Hotel meets JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of WriteAnon on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. I know. Vaggie said, putting one of the ball in her mouth. She bit down, felt the subtle crunch of the shell, the low-key sweet of the onions, the savory twinge of the meat, the slight but present bite of ginger. It was delicious. The soup wasn't any less sublime, with a low, savory richness that didn't overpower the veggies or chicken, and a perfect level of creaminess and substance that let the flavors settle on the tongue and bombard it with each ingredient's own subtle contribution. And the salad offered the perfect counterpoint to the richness of the mains, with a sharp, acidic reduction that played perfectly into the crisp sweetness of the radish and the umami of the dried seaweed flakes on top. God damn it. What? Nothing, she said, shoveling the food into her mouth like starved animal. Just, good. Charlie watched her eat, smiling gently. This is nice. Charlie gestured vaguely. Oh, you know. Just this. Sitting, talking, not worrying about, everything. Vaggie swallowed and looked over at Charlie, the ever-present smile on her face slipping away, revealing a tired resignation. Charlie. She sighed and shook her head. I still don't really know what I'm doing, and I'd like for anything at all to. I don't know, show me that it's not just some fantasy. Vaggie reached over and grabbed her hat on both her, giving it a comforting squeeze. Charlie, if anyone can do this, it's you. You're the most compassionate, giving, kind person I've ever met. A day doesn't go by that I'm not thankful I was sent here, because I got to meet you. Vaggie. Charlie exclaimed, shocked. I mean it, Vaggie pulled closer, eye blazing. Whatever it was that I did to get here, to you, I'd do it again. Because there's no way heaven or any of the other planes could have a more appealing, caring soul. You can do this, I believe in you, and I'll support you no matter what. Charlie's eyes glistened, her mouth pulled into a wobbly smile. Vaggie. She lurched across the table and pulled her into a firm hug. Vaggie smiled and delicately crossed her arms around her friend and pulled her close. Charlie pulled away and looked at her, eyes shining with tears. Thanks. I really needed that. You're the best friend anyone could have. It's good to know I have you in my corner. For you. Anything. Their eyes met, something warm and welcome suffused the air between them, an understanding of sorts. Charlie reached over, swept Vaggie's hair aside, revealing her whole face. She was pretty, though even Charlie could admit she was more than a little severe. Angel would have called it resting beach face, but Charlie knew that it was just the echoes of a hard life clinging to an appealing soul. She cupped her cheek, only slightly aware that she was leaning in. As they drew closer, the air between them electrified, the warm understanding between them becoming an unbearable tension. Closer. Closer. Rap rap a rap rap, a tap sounded from the door. Charlie and Vaggie jumped apart like they'd been electrocuted, their eyes the size of dinner plates. Ah. Charlie's hands shot to her mouth. You. They said in unison. No, you. Sorry, I. Rap rap a rap rap, a tap. I should go, answer that, Charlie said, smiling bashfully. Yeah. Vaggie said, quietly. Charlie hurriedly excused herself from the suddenly very awkward presence of her best friend and set off down the hall, trying her best to swallow her confusion and put on a winning smile for whoever was at the door. She grabbed the doorknob and swung the door open. Hell! The figure was tall, slender, looming, a trim form in a bright red coat over top a dark pinstripe undercoat. High above her head were eyes, glowing red within red over a sharp yellow crescent of a smile. Her smile dropped like a rock, eyes huge as her pupils shrunk to dots. Lo! He chuckled, a cold tinny distant sound, like the ghost of a long-dead studio audience. My dear, I believe that's my line. The Kame overpass hung over the river Styx, the main highway connecting all sectors of Pentagram City. A massive highway, perpetually dotted by countless vehicles as they streaked hither-thither in an eternal rush to escape to and from other parts of the damned city. So profound was the flow of traffic, so enormous, even bumper-to-bumper congestion still somehow rolled along at a healthy 50 miles per hour, much too slow for certain denizens. One such car, a true monster resembling two Cadillac Coupe de Villes fused together, tore down the highway, flames belching from its quartet of side-mounted exhaust pipes. The heavy, vicious-looking cowcatcher on its prow scooped under and upended other, lesser vehicles as the demonic hot rod plowed through entire lines of traffic. It bellowed down the river Styx, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Its 4 occupants hooted and roared in triumph, cackling in glee at the exploding pile-ups unfolding in their rear window. None of them noticed as a peanut collided with their windshield with a muted plink. The peanut detonated in an enormous flash of light and sound, peeling the steel roof back like paper as smoke and fire consumed the insides of the cab. The smoldering hot rod swerved abruptly and breached on the concrete divider, slamming into the support beam of the overpass in a coughing explosion of orange flame and black greasy smoke. 2 figures stood on the pass, leaning over the side rail, a high five passed between them. Oh! Angel cried, jubilantly, fists pumping as he took a long pull off a bottle of cheap whiskey. Oh! Direct hit. Not so hot now, are ya Mad Max-looking motorheads? Kira leaned over and looked at the screaming hot rodders as they flailed about around the crumpled mass that was once their vehicle, each one totally wreathed in flames. They look pretty hot to me. One of the flaming demons shambled out into traffic and was immediately mowed down by a seemingly unending line of cars. It could well be hours before he would be able to drag himself off the road. Poor but probably had someplace to be. Feeling unusually attuned to his victim's plight, Kira grabbed another peanut from the extra-large jar Angel had bought him, and charged it with a powerful concussive blast. He dropped it down into traffic, roughly where the demon lay. A loud splitting crack followed and the demon, along with a multitude of cars, sailed through the air. The demon splattered against the divider, sliding down its far side and into the trough between roads. He'd pulled himself together and be off before long. You're welcome. Kira called out as a snickering Angel passed him the bottle. As he moved to wipe the drool-covered finish off on his sleeve, Angel sneered. Don't wipe it off, ya effin' pages. Kira paused, shrugged, and took a heavy swig, hissing at the burn and handing it back. Should I be mixing alcohol with, whatever it is your friend hit me with? If you were alive, I still would, but I'm me, Angel said, licking the threads on the bottle. As is, it'll help you get to sleep later. Good, good. That's very important to me. Kira threw another peanut off the overpass, not even aiming. A moment later and it exploded, causing several cars to swerve to avoid it. Oop. Air ball. No points, Angel chuckled, looking at Kira. So, you can control how much bada bing those have. Anything I touch with my right hand becomes a bomb, either a contact bomb or a SWCH bomb. Kira said, popping a peanut in his mouth. I can control how big the explosion is, how destructive, or the rate of destruction. Say I want to erase someone, but not a certain body part, I can just make it so the rest disappears. See, I don't want to kill anyone down there, so these peanuts are only blasting, not erasing. But if A loathsome pair of hands crept up on Kira's back, a hideous gremlin-like creature peered over his shoulder. Listen here, pages. Don't make any funny moves, K. You and me, we're just gonna walk to the nearest ATM, K. I'll all your cash. No funny moves or I tear you up and SCK you dry, K. Boop, hold on a second. Kira flicked a peanut over his shoulder and hit it in the face. A flash and a pop and the demon's face exploded into a pinkish mass of shredded flesh and shattered bone. Kira reached back and grabbed the stunned, gurgling creature by the wrist and flung it off the overpass into the never-ending traffic. A dull thud was heard, followed by a series of progressively wetter crunches as cars raced by. What was that? Angel muttered, not really all that interested. Kira replied, eating another peanut. Nothin'. Kira sighed and leaned back against the concrete divide, sliding down it and staring out at the hundreds of miles of cityscape before him, drinking in the dull reddish glow of the endless shining lights, waving his hand in front of his face, smiling. Oh. Angel saw this and grinned despite his split lip. How you feeling? Great, Kira said, looking over at him. Better than great. What's this stuff called? Molly, MDMA, Biz, and a whole bunch of others. Angel said. Joy, mostly. How apropos, Kira said, rubbing his face, sighing in satisfaction. How long is this going to last? You got rollin', pretty quick, but you're just peekin' now, Angel said as he plopped down next to him and grabbed a peanut. 5, 6 hours. Maybe more. He said, stretching out like a cat, laying down flat on his back. Right now I feel like I could just, poof, like smoke, and spread out over everything. Maybe that's not such a bad idea. Kira reached up with his right hand and went to touch his forehead. Whoop. Angel reached over and grabbed his wrist. Oh, no you don't. Is suicide murder? Kira said, chuckling. Does that count against my rehabilitation? Probably, you crazy F-er. Angel said, musing his hair. Besides, if you go and dust yourself, what'll I tell Charlie? Sorry Chuck, guy just wanted to be smoke. Who am I to say no? Yeah, that'd go over well. Kira sat up and examined his hand for a second. You're probably right. Thanks, Angel. Thanks, Angel, Angel muttered, mockingly. Now. Kira's right hand plopped on Angel's shoulder, squeezing lightly. Angel, I mean it. I meant it before and I mean it now, thank you. Always putting me in unfamiliar situations, always. His hand snaked up Angel's neck, fingers coursing through his fluff, before coming to rest on his cheek, rubbing it soothingly. Testing my self-control. I'm serious about this rehabilitation thing, but I never would have put myself in situations where I'd be tested like I have been with you. And don't think I don't appreciate your intervention earlier. You were right, I was going to kill that man. I was ready to erase everyone in that club to cover my tracks. It's nice to know I have someone to hold me back when the urge strikes, even if it is a little frustrating. Angel's eyes went wide, his shoulders tensed, he was going to die. He'd heard of Holy Diver and his core crew before, sure, he even had word on who was who despite never having met any of them. But there was always one who no one seemed to have ever seen, the one they said made the boss man's problems disappear. No bodies, no clues, not even a sticky residue or stain on the carpet. Holy Diver's enemies either died publicly, with pomp and gruesome spectacle, or they simply ceased to exist. Mr. Clean, they called him, a ghost with no face, no MO, no calling card except when somebody important suddenly vanished. Angel had known goons who swore up and down that their bosses and associates were there 1 second, eating pizza, opening mail, answering the door, even just walking down the street, only to be gone the next. How easy would it be for someone whom no one knew to pose as a mailman or a pizza delivery guy? SHT, how easy would it be to just touch a doorknob or brush by someone on the sidewalk? Holy Diver waged war, killed thousands in bloody conquests, sure, but how many of his more problematic foes had simply gone missing? Hundreds? Thousands? More? How many people had been erased by the same hand that now caressed his face? A hand that belonged to the mostly unrepentant serial killer sitting next to him, the dangerously impaired serial killer who got a rockin' jolly out of making people dead. Is this what he had meant by testing his self-control? Spending time with someone he'd have otherwise slaughtered? How many times did Kira have to stop himself from killing him? How many times had Angel figuratively and literally flirted with permanent death? Angel slowly glanced over at his fellow hotel mate, expecting to see a cold killer's glint in those BLD red cat eyes, to feel the charge of his power course through him. Would it hurt? It sure looked like it hurt Bastille. Screaming and bleeding on the ground with chunks of him missing and oh god, oh god. You're really soft, Kira mumbled, his stare vacant, a dopey grin on his face as he ran his fingers through Angel's cheek fluff. Like a pee-pee willow. He leaned in and rubbed his cheek against Angel's, right hand reaching around to rub Angel's other cheek, which had become quite swollen since their scuffle earlier. I'm sorry I punched you, he whispered. Angel pushed him off. Get any hands here, killer, and I'll have to charge ya. Nothin' personal, I just got a reputation to uphold. Right, Kira said, looking a little embarrassed. Apologies. Angel snickered, looking over at Kira, his bruised, bloody face, his ruined suit, his crestfallen expression. Ladies and gentlemen, the mysterious, the infamous, the outright dreaded Mr. Clean, high off his butt and in desperate need of a ball of yarn and a great big snuggle. Angel couldn't help himself, he began to laugh. Kira looked confused for a moment before joining in, apparently just liking the sound of their voices mingling. Ah ha, oh. Angel trailed off, wiping a tear from his eye. You're a funny guy, killer. You can rub my cheek anytime you like. An instant later and Kira's hand was on Angel's cheek, who simply smiled, rolling his eyes and taking another pull from his bottle of whiskey, finishing it off. Ah, SHT, teaches me for Sharon. Come on, let's go find someone to roll and get some more dough. Oh. Hold on. Kira exclaimed, unbuttoning his shirt. Angel watched with some moderate confusion but mostly lurid interest as he took notice of how outrageously jacked Kira was. Seriously, the guy was cut like fashion model on a coke binge. With a sound not unlike an elastic band snapping, Kira's washboard abs shifted and split apart, revealing an ever so slyly horrific pocket in his abdomen. He reached into the compartment and produced a large bottle of white rum. Here. I stole this while you were listing all those names for handjobs to the clerk at the liquor store. Why the F do your tasty abs have a secret compartment? Angel demanded, pointing at it in horror. Fix them right now. Kira looked down at his closing belly and seemed at a loss. Because my stand had it, I guess. But then, why did it have a compartment there to begin with? I don't really think about it all that much. The F's a stand. It's complicated. Kira held out the bottle. You like rum? Angel hesitantly reached out and poked his navel like it was going to bite. I'm sorry, what? Booze. Right. Angel snatched the bottle, capped it and knocked it back, draining almost a quarter of it. He needed to catch up to his sponsor and calm his last remaining nerve. He scrunched his face and stuck out his tongue. This bottle smells like an old wallet. Also, overproof Ray and nephews. Nice grab. You're welcome, said Kira, looking down as Angel's hand returned to his stomach. It only opens when I make it open. There's no button. That's nice, Angel muttered, distantly, as he traced his abs, another hand getting in on the action. Yes. Kira leaned back and sighed happily, eyes closing as Angel rubbed his belly. It is. The panther demon stretched out on the concrete, arms and legs spread, hands clasping and flexing, a deep rumbling purr emanating from low in his throat. Ah ha ha ha. Are ya effin' purrin'? Angel cackled, now scratching his sides and belly with 3 arms. You like that, kitty? Scritchy scritchy scritchy. Kira was lost to sensation, arms slack on the ground, hands kneading, shirt unbuttoned to reveal his bare, sculpted torso, a look of utter bliss on his face. Angel bit his lip and smiled, eyes glinting drunkenly as his hands drifted down Kira's V-line. He stopped himself. This probably wasn't appropriate behavior for a sponsor, but, then again, no, it definitely wasn't. Angel found himself in a moral quandary, foreign territory for him. Usually he'd just do whatever he wanted, but he'd turned down the heroin earlier and felt that he was on a bit of a roll here. He'd need to do something radical, consult his conscience. Hey, Angel said to the little devil angel on his shoulder. Sup? Wrong shoulder, said the little devil angel, pointing. Over there. Angel looked over to see a little angel reclined on a lawn chair, reading a book. He blinked in surprise. There's 2 of ya. Wow, you really SCK at this, devil angel scoffed. Shut up. Angel turned to the lounging angel. Ist. Hey. Angel didn't respond for a moment before looking up from his book. Ya talkin' to me? No, I'm talkin' to the other hallucination on my shoulder. Angel hissed. Yeah, I'm talkin' to ya. Angel looked confused for a moment before setting his book down and getting off the lawn chair. Right, okay, just a sec. He reached into his robe and pulled out a halo. He blew a cloud of dust off of it and set it in place over his head. It flickered unsteadily like a broken neon sign before settling into a dull, sanctimonious glow. Angel cleared his throat and donned a holier-than-thou expression. Don't do the bad thing. Angel looked over at Devil Angel, who could only offer a shrug. Angel turned back to Angel. Do you even know what's going on here? No. When was the last time you asked me anything? Angel sighed and gestured at the prone figure. I'm askin' ya if I should go ahead and have some fun with the kitty man, here. He's rollin' like a beach ball and high off belly rubs. Well, you probably shouldn't take advantage of someone on a roll, right? Angel said, uncertainly, looking over at Kira. I mean, that's, like, bad. Not to mention, whoa, goddamn, that bod. Right? Angel said, grinning. That's 1 6-pack you can't get at the liquor store. Should have sent a poet. Angel said, before shaking his head. No. You really shouldn't. It's, like, immoral or something. I think. What I mean, I think. Angel snapped. Ain't ya supposed to know? Look, if I was good at my job, you wouldn't be a spider monster in hell. Right, Devil Angel interjected. How's about this? You give 3 points why we shouldn't, I'll give 3 points why we should. Then we vote. Democratic-like. Democracy, Angel said, nodding. I like it. Lotta Bolsheviks in hell, but not up here. Angel said, nodding. Angel produced a whiteboard and a pile of notes. Here's why we shouldn't. 1, it's immoral. 2. It's probably not great for our rehab. 3, wait, it says here he's Mr. Clean. Okay, so he's a superpowered murderer, that's a good reason. Fair enough. Angel turned to Devil Angel. Counterpoint. 1, you'll want to. 2, I want to. 3. We haven't gotten laid in a week. Angel shrugged and raised his hand. SHT got my vote. Yeah, Angel said, raising his hand. You done convinced me. Boo. We could even make a t-shirt that says, IF Mr. Clean and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. You're the worst conscience ever, you know that. Why did you stop? Kira mumbled. Be right with ya, kitty. Angel grinned, unbuttoning his top. Say, why ever had a belly shot? Kira looked over at him as he lay down next to him. No. What's that? It's where I pour a shot in your belly button, Angel said, as he did just that, causing Kira to gasp at the sudden cool sensation. And then I drink it. Oh. Kira chuckled, dipping a finger into the clear pool on his stomach. I thought that was a sec move or something. No, that's a jelly shot, Angel said, winking as he quickly slurped up the alcohol. And that comes later. Kira's head lolled back in bliss at the sensation, sighing luxuriously as Angel's tongue rolled up his abs. Angel deftly undid his belt buckle as his fingers hooked onto Kira's pants. What? Said Moonshine. The boogie bug said. Poker Face leaned over the concrete divider. F. Is going on here? God-given roared. Angel looked up at the quartet, his tongue lapping at Kira's alcohol-soaked fur. Do you mind? I'm licking my pee-pee here. Yeah. Kira said, before looking up at the source of the interruption. Oh, SHT. Vaggie buried her head in her hands. What was that all about? Charlie, they were going to. Vaggie grumbled, pushing her fingers through her hair. She loved Charlie, in every way possible. There was nothing she wouldn't do for her, she'd kill for her, commit atrocities for her, she'd do things for Charlie that Charlie could never ask of her. She was the one decent, good thing in this entire hellscape, the one truly pure person in all hell or, really, all of creation. That someone like her could even exist would have boggled Vaggie's mind back on Earth, much less the fact that she'd have to go to hell itself to meet her. That she was lucky enough to call Charlie her friend was nothing short of a miracle. A finger tapped on her shoulder. Vaggie looked over and saw nothing. She turned back and saw something out of the corner of her eye, something terrible. An angular horror of teeth and antlers, red eyes leering out from a swirling mass of black, squirming, verminous shapes. It ate color and cast not shadows, not darkness, but the death of light itself, black like a star's corpse. A long, slender hand slunk out in front of her and plucked an octopus ball off her plate. The horrible shape coalesced in an instant into something more humanoid, his wide, crescent grin cracked apart and popped the fried lump of batter past those sharp, yellow teeth. Alastor, Vaggie growled. What are you doing here? Just popped in for a snack, Alastor crooned, chewing loudly in her ear. Now, I've never been one for Oriental food, but shucks, Buster, if this isn't a treat. Tell me, how's the new resident faring? Turns out he's a murderous psychopath who chops off people's hands, Vaggie said, getting to her feet. You'd like him. Doubt it. Alastor said. Mr. Clean always was something of a sourpuss. But out of all of them I never would have thought he'd even consider redemption. What a humdinger of a turn-up. Vaggie slammed his fist on the table. You know something about all of this, don't you? Tell me what's going on. Alastor chuckled in a hair-raising fashion, the sense of amusement was genuine, but the malice within shone like a beacon. Ever the intrepid guard dog, I see. Ah, it's so grand when schemes pile up. The thrill of keeping both boxcars on track even as they smash into one another. The chill of seeing a long-term plans go off the tracks. The sweet satisfaction when they all merge together, trolleys and boxcars and cabooses and locomotives, all hop on the same track and go along their merry way. It's scheme synergy. And to think, all it took was a GG call to one of old Snorkel's dogs. Ho 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 ho. What the hell are you talking about? Vaggie exclaimed. Alastor shook his head and walked out of the room, brushing past Charlie as he did. Just that la vie est drôle, and if you can't laugh you'll go daffy. So crack a smile while you can. Alastor chortled to himself as he set off down the hall to the rec room. Charlie walked over to Vaggie, her expression that of concern and more than a little nervousness. Are you okay? I hate that grinning, cryptic, smug, condescending. Ugh. Vaggie threw up her arms. Bad enough we're dealing with two psychopaths, but one of them is a pompous butt. He told me that he's here to pick some brains, and I'm not sure if that means he's going to ask some questions or... Charlie trailed off, wringing her hands together. Vaggie reached out and took her hand, squeezing it comfortingly. Hey. It'll be okay. Charlie looked down at Vaggie's hand and back up at her. She squeezed back and smiled. A bang rang through the foyer as Husk kicked open the door. The winged cat shambled in, clearly soused. I'm back. My sources came through. Europe. I just need to. Husk locked eyes with Alastor, whose smile only widened, and snarled. You. Oh, don't mind me. Alastor stopped mid-stride and beamed at Husk. Please, do go on about your sources. Husk growled and jabbed a talon at Alastor. In tin-mouthed ham radio shitkicker. This whole mess is probably your doin'. Alastor simply shrugged, turned to Charlie. It would seem our barfly is in something of a buzz. I'll make like a class act and bow out while you get Kitty his milk. Charlie shook her head and gestured at the door to the first-floor rec room. Please, make yourself comfortable. I'll take care of Husk. Much obliged. Husk started forward towards the radio demon. Charlie and Vaggie intercepted him, holding him back. Charlie winced at the fumes coming off of the drunk, but forced a smile. Husk. Didn't you have something to tell us? Yeah. Vaggie said, crossing her arms. What did your sources say? Husk glowered in the general direction of the rec room. He sighed and rubbed the back of his neck, pointing at Charlie. Is she all filled in? Murder turtle, said Charlie, crossing her arms. Right, so, that puppet demon at the B&S wreckage, he mentioned some demons I'm acquainted with, cut cards with one of M. Poker face, he calls himself. Right D Sugger, petty, arrogant, but slap my peach if he ain't a born card shark. Anyway, him and 3 others have been rolling around the west side, getting their ducks in a row, making a lot of people nervous. See, back before the Purge of 16, they ran with a powerful demon lord by the name of Holy Diver. He had the entire west side on lock, other gangs paid tribute or they got made example of, so it was no small party when he found himself of the wrong side of an exorcist's spear. Vaggie gestured for him to hurry up. What does that have to do with? Seems like they're getting the band back together, Husk said. The 4 of them are well known around these here parts as high-grade hired muscle or significant operators, but now they're patrolling around together like back when the boss man was alive, and it's got more than a few backs up. Worse yet, and what's got people really worried, is that they're looking for someone. The 5th lieutenant of Holy Diver's old crew, a guy by the name of Mr. Clean. Mr. Clean? Charlie said. That doesn't sound so bad. Yeah, sure, except that he was Holy Diver's hand of death, said Husk, producing a hip flask and taking a pull. No one's ever seen him, no one's ever talked to him, but whenever someone important went missing, everyone knew it was Clean what did it. He was almost an urban legend, like a boogeyman, that anyone who crossed Holy Diver would turn a corner and never be seen again. No bodies, no BLD, not even a stain on the rug. Clean. Charlie pressed her hands together, touching her fingers to her lips. So, let me get this straight. You 2 think our client is an infamous mob hitman who burned down his old apartment building, somehow created a room in the ground, threw his neighbors and a demon puppet in, and then vaporized them all with a murder turtle? No, he killed his neighbors with the murder turtle first, said Husk. Vaggie clapped her palm to her face. See, the other gangsters used their powers to dig up the memory in the dirt, then they turned the puppet into a poker chip and threw him in, where he met the memories of the murdered neighbors and got partially exploded by the memory of the murder turtle. Oh, Charlie said, flatly. Of course. You know, when I say it all out loud, it sounds a little silly. Yeah, no SHT. Vaggie said. Poker chips. Memories. What the F are you talking about? Husk sighed and shook his head, leveling a stare at both of them. They got powers, okay? Everyone in Holy Diver's inner circle got powers. It doesn't matter. What matters is that they were looking for Mr. Clean and they wound up sniffing around our client's old home after it mysteriously exploded. What matters is that our witness said he saw a pink cat guy killing a bunch of people using some kind of weird power. What matters is that we're now in the crossfire once these bad boys come calling. Husk looked up and his lip fleared back in a snarl. And what matters most of all is that this mugging Kanjaki has something to do with it. Don't you? They turned around to see Alastor looming over them, looking down at Charlie. Melons for tat, my brusque bookie boozer. Charlie, what is the Wi-Fi password? Zoxo4EVR, Charlie replied. I didn't know you had a phone. I don't. Alastor crooned, leaning over to Husk. And to answer your question, maybe. Husk sputtered enraged semi-words as Charlie and Vaggie held him back from the chortling deer demon. Vaggie pulled Husk away to a far corner of the room. Charlie turned to face Alastor, her expression set and determined. All right, Alastor, no more games. Why are you here? Is it so hard to believe that I simply want to bushwash with this fine gentleman? To assess his character. Before leaving him in your capable, appealing hands? Is it so hard to believe that I was concerned for you? Charlie crossed her arms. Yes. Alastor's hand shot to his chest as though stricken, a smile still plastered on his face. Well, that's just peachy. After all this time, all my help, all my gestures of goodwill, and you still don't trust me? Nope, Charlie said, flatly. Miss Magna. He said, leaning in, his voice grew deeper, more distant, as though he was falling into his own personal abyss, static and reverb clawing at the edges as he spoke. There's ho-efr-yo-u-y-et. He pulled away from her and chuckled, giving an "ah shucks" gesture. Well, you done twisted my arm, sweetheart. The pouting prehab over yonder is all right and a bag of chips. Some ne'er-do-wells are on the prowl for a former associate and they have it in their bonnets that the charming Pip is here, making dents in beds. It's not in my or anyone's best interests that they reassemble their brass section for a show, so I thought I'd drop by and get a bead on Mr. Clean's openness to a reunion tour. And if he was open to it? Charlie asked, pointedly. Better for everyone this particular fad doesn't make a comeback, doll. Now, you stop right there. Charlie jabbed a finger up into Alastor's face. I don't care who you are or what you think you can get away with, but I'll just tell you now, as long as they're in my care I won't allow you or anyone else to harm my patients. You hear me? My patients have the Magna family seal of protection. Allow. Alastor said, cocking his head to one side. Darling, if I feared your father I wouldn't be here. I'm not talking about my father, Charlie growled, not breaking eye contact. I'm talking about me. You hurt them, you deal with me, understand? They're my patients, and I promise to do everything in my power to help them, and if that means kicking your smirking red keister out on the curb, then you better believe I'll make your pompous pinstriped patootie an appointment with the pavement. The room was silent. Husk and Vaggie gawped in the far corner, all irritation and anger drained from their faces. Charlie stood defiantly before the radio demon, one of, if not the most feared denizen of hell itself. The shadow that eclipsed Pentagram City hung over Charlie, his red, glowing eyes leered down at her as his smirk transitioned into a grin. She stood fast, eyes locked with his. Alastor broke the stare down and the silence when he threw his head back and laughed jovially, clapping in glee. Such moxie. Such verve. Such adroit, adept adoption of alluring alliteration. A1. Very well, your majesty, I give you my vow as a demon of means and a southern gentleman, I shall not harm one hair or otherwise appropriate protuberance on the personage of any peons on premises. If there was any doubt before, kid, I'd say you done made yourself a bookie's favorite with that little performance. I'm glad we've reached this mutual understanding, Charlie said, her tone even as she crossed her arms over her chest to hide her trembling hands. Now we just have to sit tight and wait for them to get back. I've got a few questions for them myself, you know. Bully. Alastor crowed, thumbing over his shoulder at the rec room. I'll be waiting in the adjoining boudoir, you may join me if you like. I'll stay out here, if that's okay. Charlie offered a wan smile. To meet them as they come in. Suit yourself. Alastor left, chuckling quietly to himself. Charlie waited until she was fairly certain he was out of earshot before loosing an explosive exhalation, palm clapping against her forehead. Vaggie was at her side in an instant. Oh my God, Charlie, are you okay? Why yeah, just. She said, her voice wavering. I'm just gonna head over to the bathroom and throw up a bit, okay? Husk stood by, silent with shock, and handed her his hip flask. Charlie eyed it for half-second before snatching it, knocking back the contents in one long draught. She puffed and wiped off her chin, handing the empty flask back to Husk. Thanks. Yeah, he muttered, still stunned as she walked away and sat down on the bench next to the door. Woof. I think I grew an extra pair just by being in the same room. Charlie's the kindest person in hell, no doubt, Vaggie said, proudly. But if you think that kind means weak, you're in for a nasty surprise. Husk smirked and nodded. Angel and Mr. Clean are in a whole lot of trouble when they get home, that's for sure. Angel slowly rose to his feet with all four arms raised, squinting in the itchy, burning glare coming off of the angelic harpoon that was currently pointed at his face. Get up, Moonshine growled. Hands where I can see, M. All of, M, Spider Boy. Angel grumbled and pushed out his third pair of arms. There, Happy. You had us scaping dirt all around downtown trying to find you idiots. God-given said, examining his claws. We're a little miffed. What was even going on over here? Bug Boogie demanded, gesturing Kira, who was still lying on his back with his shirt splayed open. Clean, what the hell man? Do you see them, too? Kira asked Angel. Yeah, Angel said. Get up. Kira sighed and begrudgingly got to his feet. He straightened his back and rolled out his shoulders. God-given, Moonshine, Bug Boogie, Poker Face, how good to see you all again. He turned to Angel, grinning like a loon. That's a lie. I actually hate them. We can hear you. Moonshine said, his harpoon bare inches from Angel's neck. I'm standing right here. I was really enjoying that belly rub, Kira grumbled, staring into the middle distance as he buttoned up his shirt and jacket. I wonder if I can get through this without killing them all. Probably not. Oh, well. Moonshine gawped at him, two of his four eyes glanced over at Angel, who could only shrug. Is it in violation of my rehab if I kill in self-defense? Does it matter if I enjoy killing in self-defense? Does that, I don't know, void the sentiment? I should probably ask Charlie about that. Kira noticed their reactions and tapped his chin. Shoot, did I say all of that or just think it? Okay, what's wrong with him? God-given said, warily. He's stammered Bug Boogie. Smiling. Poker Face finished, horrified. Angel cleared his throat. Cherry popped a molly in his drink to get him to loosen up a little. Popped a molly, Kira intoned, snickering. Moonshine jabbed the harpoon in Angel's face, causing him to flinch and recoil. You effing idiot. You know he's a psycho and then you blitz him on E. He coulda killed everyone in there. Hey, stop that. Kira said, reaching into his pocket. Get that pickle fork out of my friend's face. Friend? Moonshine spat, turning to face him. Christ, you really are. A peanut bounced off his rounded snout, his eyes snapped open wide in horrified realization. Shoot, Kira said, meaningfully brandishing another peanut in his right hand. Forgot to do the thing. Here you go. He tossed the other one and it bounced off of Moonshine's forearm. The fish demon squawked in terror and lunged backward, tripping and falling before scrambling along the pavement, screaming and clutching his arm. All of the other demons immediately leapt back, bracing themselves for the imminent explosion. Nothing happened. Moonshine hyperventilated on the ground, flexing and clenching his hand a few times before glaring at Kira, who was grinning widely as he chewed a peanut. "What the F, man?" Kira snorted and doubled over laughing, slapping his knee. "I'm sorry, that was mean, but, oh, the look on your face. Priceless." Kira bent over and picked the jar of peanuts off the ground and poured himself a handful. "All right. Now that we're all reacquainted, here comes the part where you answer my questions. First, what are you doing here?" God-Given exchanged looks with his teammates, each of them nodding at him. "We're working." Kira nodded and whispered to Angel. "Angel, put your arms down." "Right," Angel said, not taking his eyes off the four gangsters. These were Holy Divers boys all right. He slowly and quietly reached into his purse, grasping the little metal sphere inside. Things were about to get messy. "I hope that doesn't mean what I think it means because..." Kira's smile suddenly became a lot less friendly. "That's really not going to work out for you." "Not what you think," said God-Given, calmly. "We were sent to find you." "And how did you do that?" Kira said, wagging his finger forebodingly. "And do try to silence your inner pedant, boy. You know what I mean." God-Given smirked and sighed. Anonymous tip. "Someone called us up and told us you were living at the Belial and Scratch building. From there I just had to scrape dirt to get a bead on you." "MMHM," Kira said, flatly. "And now that you found me, what?" "We're taking you back with us," God-Given said, his tone authoritative. "To talk with the boss." Kira shook his head and waved his hand. "I'm going to have to stop you right there. I'm going clean, I'm trying to get redeemed, that's hard enough as it is without slaughtering gangsters for money. I'm not interested in some holy diver wannabe's delusions of grandeur. That dream died with Daddy, Donnie. Now leave, please." God-Given shook his head and smirked as the others laughed. "You still don't get it, do you? We all had good things going, real tidy operations and regular work. Now we're all back together, just like old times. Doesn't that strike you as a little odd?" Kira's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" "You're smart, do the math." Kira's eyes went wide, a look of unrestrained horror crept across his face. "No. That's impossible. I can't, I won't. It's just a little chat. And this is just a little peanut." Kira roared, throwing the peanut at God-Given's feet. It exploded into a burst of light and sound. The concussive force threw the mole demon backwards into a concrete divider with crushing force. The other three snapped into action, Moonshine's harpoon at the ready. Poker Face produced his stack of Seraphim steel playing cards, springing them between his hands. Bug Boogie's head leapt from his body and into the air, an exterminator's blade exuding from between his mandibles. "Come on!" Kira hissed, left hand raised. He stopped and looked over his shoulder at Angel, left hand balling into a fist. He hissed, "Damn it!" God-Given peeled himself off of the divider and, noticing Kira's hesitation, smirked. He pointed to Bug Boogie and said, "Disarm him." Right hand. The large flying beetle streaked forward, wings roaring like a horde of locusts, the blade between his mandibles glinting in the street lights. Kira's fist shot out and smashed into the concrete divider with all his strength, smashing a section of it into small pieces. He grabbed a chunk and charged it before crushing it into pieces, each shard now a small portion of the same bomb. He threw the handful at the oncoming demon. Bug Boogie bobbed and weaved around the debris, not one so much as touching him, and continued on his mad dash towards his prey. Kira pressed the SWCH and the bombs went off in a splendid display of light and fire, tearing the air with heat and light. Bug Boogie was hurled forward through the air by the concussive blast, tumbling out of control towards Angel, the glint of his holy blade a silver streak of death. "Get down!" Kira shouted, roughly shoving Angel to the ground as Bug Boogie tore by in a flash. Kira growled in pain as his left hand bounced on the concrete, followed shortly by a splash of blood. He drew back, hissing as he clutched the bleeding stump of his wrist. Bug Boogie recovered and doubled back, charging headlong for Kira, his razor-sharp mandibles snapping with malice. Scissor-faced Mothaf. Angel roared, summoning a Tommy gun and opening up with fully automatic fire. Bug Boogie effortlessly bobbed and weaved around the flurry of bullets, cackling madly as he swooped in towards Angel. Wouldn't mind carving off a piece of that fine butt. In the last instant Kira swept up behind Angel and hurled another crushed chunk of concrete up at the gyring insect. Bug Boogie swerved to dodge a lethal shard of concrete and caught 6 bullets in his side, knocking him out of the air in a spiraling plummet. The beetle demon bounced across the pavement, skidding to a stop at the feet of the other 3, his panicking, headless body rushed forward to collect his squirming, bleeding head. Angel whirled about with his Tommy gun and leveled it at the others, teeth bared in a savage snarl. He pulled the trigger only to be met by a low, muffled click. Angel blinked and examined the machine gun, turning it over to see a sprout of barnacles spreading from the trigger and onto his hand, quickly growing over and up to his wrist. "Hold still," Kira said, reaching over and touching the encroaching barnacles, blasting the crust off of Angel's hand. Kira grabbed the Tommy gun, ripping it out of Angel's hands before hurling it at the quartet. "Poker Face," God-given commanded. Poker Face hurled a card and knocked the machine gun out of the air, causing it to erupt into a massive, crackling explosion. "Now." Moonshine knelt down behind the fireball, hands knit together to form a step. "Slow him down." Poker Face charged forward, planting his foot in Moonshine's hands, and jumped. With a mighty heave, Moonshine sprung up and hurled Poker Face high into the air amidst the evanescing smoke. Poker Face grinned and flicked his wrist, for razor-sharp cards cast from seraphim steel flashed between his fingers. He laughed and swiped down at Kira, the cards cut through the air with a thin, reedy whistle. Kira managed to dodge one of them, but 3 of the shrieking blades found their mark, burying their keen, holy edges deep into his right knee and shoulder while another sliced through his right brow. Kira growled as blood poured into his eye, blinding it. He fell to one knee as the divine substance violently corroded his demonic body, liquefying his flesh with a bubbling hiss. Poker Face landed and raised his hand, clenching it into a fist. The cards withdrew from Kira's body and slipped back between his fingers. Kira panted and grimaced up at the quartet, grinning in victory despite the fact that they were still very obviously keeping their distance on the other side of the road. "There, that wasn't so hard, was it?" Bug Boogie crowed, unsteadily hovering over God-given's shoulder. "Do we really need this but?" "He's still dangerous," God-given sneered, drawing a line across his throat. "We only need to bring the boss his head, the rest will grow back in a few months, plenty of time to chat. Bug, do your thing." Bug Boogie cackled and hovered slowly, deliberately, towards the stricken Kira, his mandibles snapping open and shut. "Big bad Mr. Clean, bout to get a whole lot shorter." A small red ball thudded on the asphalt in front of them. It rolled languidly towards the quartet, a low hissing sound now audible. They boggled at it as it drew closer, its far side reared up to reveal a crudely drawn hand flipping the bird and a very short-lit fuse. Angel scooped up Kira under the arms and dove off the side of the overpass, offering 6 one-finger salutes to the gangsters as they made their futile attempts to escape the bomb's blast. The Kame overpass was consumed in a huge blossom of flame and red glitter, splitting the air in a massive thunderclap. The gangsters were hurled through the air, bouncing and skidding down the road and crunching into the dividers. Some 10 feet down and on the better side of several feet of concrete, Angel loosed an impressed whistle as he clung to the bottom of the overpass. "Never pass up a free hand grenade, that's what I always say. Those little BSTRDS are always useful." He looked down at Kira as they dangled over the busy highway. "How you holdin' up?" "You know," Kira said, examining the squirting stump that was his left wrist. "Dismemberment is a lot less funny from this perspective. Maybe I should go apologize to that cowman. I think that might be empathy, killer." Angel cheered, patting Kira's cheek. Charlie will be so happy to hear that. You think so? Kira said, pointing up at the sheer concrete to which he was clinging. Also, how are you doing that? I'm a spider, duh. Angel laughed and began to clamber along the underside of the overpass. Spider TWK does exactly what cha thinks / takes a PP, any size / y better pay / or someone dies / watch out, / here comes the spider TWK. Emissary of hell, Supede TWK. Kira chuckled, looking down at his dangling legs. We're really high. Workin' on it. Once they'd reached the far side of the highway, Angel scuttled down the support column and set Kira down on the sidewalk, puffing as he swept sweat from his brow. That but wasn't exactly light. Kira hissed, sliding down to the sidewalk with his back to the column, his injured leg held out straight. Okay, all this is really starting to hurt. Adrenaline's wearing off. Angel reached into his purse and produced the bottle of rum. Molly don't do PP for pain, but this will. Kira feebly grabbed the bottle and instinctively reached over with his stump to uncap it. Angel bent over and screwed off the top and Kira knocked it back for a few hearty tugs. He leaned back and sighed with relief. Thanks, Angel. Thanks, Angel, Angel repeated, faux-mockingly. Hey, don't think I didn't see you lose your paw pushing me out of the way. Now we're even. Not the smartest thing I could have done. Kira grimaced as he worked his tie off and pulled it tight around his bleeding wrist. Don't even know why I did it, actually. Hey, I'm not one to look a gift horse in the mouth, Angel chuckled, nervously side-eyeing Kira. He'd probably expect questions, right? So, were they like, old friends or something? Old co-workers, Kira muttered, ripping off his damaged sleeve and clumsily fashioning it into a crude tension bandage around his knee. I've been avoiding them for years, laying low, keeping my identity a secret. I can't go back to the life I led, I can't be Mr. Clean again. They're not the type to return empty-handed. They didn't go through all the trouble of tracking me down to politely accept my resignation. That said, I think I may have overreacted. Angel craned his neck up at the column of smoke rising from the overpass overhead. They'd probably agree with ya. We'd best get going, they'll pull themselves together before long, Kira grunted, trying to get to his feet and stumbling as soon as he put weight on his partially liquefied knee, the bandage doing little to hold it together. Whoa, there, Pink Panther. Angel caught him and steadied him. Daddy's gotcha. Kira chuckled weakly and gestured at Angel with his stump. Don't push your luck. You seem pretty comfortable with that stump there, Angel said as the two of them hobbled down the sidewalk. Figured you'd at least be a little, I dunno, upset at losing a hand. Wouldn't be the first time, Kira said with a shrug, taking another belt of rum. Besides, it'll grow back. Tying my shoes is going to be a chore for a while, though. If it helps, Angel reached into his purse and produced Kira's left hand. I grabbed this while I was on the ground. Think you can reattach it? Kira took the hand and stopped walking, sitting down on a nearby bench and examined the wound. Seems pretty clean. We won't know until we try. So, I guess that means you owe me one, yeah? Angel said, smirking. Yes, of course, Kira said, stuffing the hand into his jacket pocket and getting back to his feet. Anything. Famous last words, said Angel, smirking deviously. Come on. Let's get you back to the hotel. Chuck's probably gonna give us an earful. Barring that last part, I had fun, said Kira, patting Angel on the shoulder. We should hang out more. Sure, if you can promise not to dismember my friends. I'll think about it. Charlie yawned, stretching her arms over her head. She looked up at the clock, not that time meant anything in a realm with no day or night, but it had still been a while since she'd last slept. Vaggie murmured something in her sleep, Charlie's suit jacket draped over her shoulders as she nestled on her lap. Charlie smiled and stroked her hair gently, careful not to wake her. Vaggie had had a long day, she deserved a good sleep. Husk snored like a bandsaw on a lounger nearby, his hat set on his face as he cradled an empty bottle of Johnny Walker Red in his arms like a baby. Charlie mused that she probably couldn't wake him if she tried. If any gangsters burst through the door he probably would still be too drunk to defend himself. Images of all her friends getting skewered filled her mind. Alastor would no doubt stand in the back corner of the room and grin, reminding her of his promise not to harm anyone on premises. Vaggie would try to defend her, and maybe she would, or maybe they'd overwhelm her and... Charlie shook her head, her heart suddenly racing. She knew from the get-go that this job would be dangerous, but she didn't expect it all to unravel so quickly. All this had happened so suddenly, it was a lot to take in, and Alastor showing up and taking personal interest sure wasn't helping matters. Charlie inhaled sharply through her nose and exhaled slowly, trying to calm herself. There was still the possibility that this was all some silly misunderstanding. Yeah. Kira would explain he'd escaped this terrifying hitman and decided to redeem himself right then and there. He had admitted to being a serial killer, which was bad enough, but what sort of kind and loving God would give such awful powers to a murderer? If he was this Mr. Clean, that would mean he'd have been tempted this whole time to slaughter her and everyone she knew. He said it himself, he had an uncontrollable urge, if he could have killed them, he would have, right? This whole time he could have erased her friends like he did all those gangsters and she had just let him in and tried to help him and been alone with him and... Charlie jumped when door clicked and creaked open, slowly, tentatively, as though trying to escape notice. The bench was close enough to the exit that when the door opened it effectively blocked it from the view of the entering party. Charlie suspected this was by design, as her father's favorite thing in the world was looming in the background unnoticed to lull people into a false sense of security. Angel peered in through the door, his eyes darting around. Charlie very gently and quietly slid out from under Vaggie and got to her feet. "Okay," he whispered to someone behind him. "Husk's out cold and I don't see the wardens anywhere. Come on, try to be quiet, we'll get you patched up and Charlie doesn't need to know." "Know what?" Angel jumped and spun around with a squeak. He'd looked like he'd been in a brawl, with one eye nearly swollen shut, a wide array of scrapes and bruises and a nasty-looking split in his lip. Angel adopted an unconvincingly casual posture, half his body conspicuously hidden behind the door. "Bush it, hey Charlie, how's it goin'?" "Us? Nothin' to report. Just guy stuff, you know. You wouldn't understand. We'll just..." She kicked the door closed and gasped in horror at what she saw. Kira hung off Angel's arm, his suit filthy with garbage, dirt and a sickening amount of BLD. He was covered in wounds, in addition to just generally looking like he'd been in a cage fight, his right eye crusted shut with dried BLD from a deep gouge on his brow, his right shoulder and knee were a bloody mess, and most horrifyingly, his left arm abruptly terminated at the wrist in a sheer bloody stump crudely stanched with a necktie tourniquet. His open eye locked onto her, his pupil a massive purple circle ringed with red, a joyous, oblivious smile on his face. "Charlie." "Hello," Kira said, waving his stump. He looked at his wrist for a moment, his smile faltered before he seemed to remember something. He reached into the BRST pocket of his jacket and, to Charlie's horror, produced his left hand, which he then proceeded to wave at her. "Hello. I had a wonderful night. I met this girl named Peaches, and I got to meet Angel's friends, and I almost killed some people but Angel stopped me. He's such a good sponsor. He's in shock. He must be in shock," she thought, frantically. "Kira, oh my God, what happened to you?" Kira re-examined himself and chuckled, nudging Angel with his elbow. "You should see the other guy." Charlie's mouth hung open, her eyes flashed red and snapped over to Angel, who raised his arms defensively. "Hey, now. What did you do to him?" Charlie demanded. "It wasn't me," Angel said, pleadingly. "His old buddies from work jumped us. I saved his life. It's true, he did, Kira interjected, the hand in his hand flashing a thumbs up. Thanks Angel. Kira. Charlie turned to Kira, her eyes were no longer red but tension sang at the edges of her voice. Go sit down, please. I'll be with you in a minute. Oh okay. Kira nodded sheepishly and hobbled over to a nearby bench. Angel chuckled, looking between Charlie and Kira, waving her off. Okay, if you knew what you just did, it's really funny. Yeah, I know. I just told Mr. Clean to go sit down like a naughty child, Charlie hissed. Har har. I always hated that name, Kira grumbled. Angel blinked in surprise, recoiling. How? Charlie pointed to Vaggie and then Husk, who were beginning to rouse. Did a background check. Did you know about any of this? No. No. Well, kinda, Angel said, shaking his head. I just found out earlier tonight. It's why Cherry wanted to talk, to get him out somewhere so his buddies could find him. When you paired us up it killed two birds with one stone, see? Anyway, his pals tracked us down and walloped him pretty good, we barely escaped with our lives. Vaggie's eyes snapped open and she jumped to her feet. They're back. Husk, wake up. Been awake the whole time, Husk said, opening an eye. Don't tell me you actually dozed off. So it's true. Charlie whispered, turning to Kira, her voice hard. All this time, you were lying to us. Kira shrugged, gesturing SOSO with the hand in his hand. I told you the truth, just not all of it. Lies by omission count. Vaggie marched over and jabbed a finger in his face. Now, thanks to you, we're all in danger. What do you think your friends will do when they come here looking for you? Well, they'll probably. Kira blinked, his brow creasing as the realization took hold. Kill you all. No one can know who I am. That's right. Vaggie growled, gesturing at Kira in general. Also, what the F happened to you? And why do you smell like a blood bank's dumpster? Angel hit me with a garbage can, Kira mumbled, staring into the middle distance. Husk got to his feet and marched over to Kira. Why do your boys want to find you? And why don't you want to get found? Why kill all those people at the apartment? Why come here? Kira stared at his feet, silent. Angel spoke up, Holy Diver's back. Husk stiffened galvanically, he turned to stare at Angel, his eyes wide and ears flat. What? Holy Diver's back in town, Angel repeated. Turns out he didn't bite it in 16. He's back and he's getting his lieutenants together to stick it sideways to the west side again. He wants to get Kira back in his fold because, hey, apparently being able to permakill someone with a peanut is awful handy. We gave his boys the slip on the came overpass, but they'll be back. They're armed with seraphim steel and they ain't messin' around. F. Husk clapped his hand to his face, gritting his teeth. Oh, F. He's back. Oh, F. Charlie, I. Kira looked over at Charlie, she wouldn't meet his gaze, clutching her arms, her expression hurt. I'm sorry. I didn't want this to happen. Well, good for you, Vaggie said, pinching the bridge of her nose. We're in a right F mess but at least you feel bad about it. I do, feel. Kira shook his head, got to his feet, slowly, painfully. You're all in danger while I'm here. When they find me, and they will, they'll kill you all to keep my identity a secret. Holy Diver wouldn't have it any other way, the more who people know about me, the less useful I am to him. Angel, tell Cherry to watch out for them, she's probably on their list too. Angel nodded and Kira hobbled over to the door, his hand on the knob when Charlie grabbed his arm. What are you doing? Leaving. Kira didn't face her. I'll keep ahead of them as long as I can, draw them away from here. Maybe if I give myself up, maybe if I go to Holy Diver myself, I can convince him to spare you all. F.N.A., said Husk, nodding. He's reasonable, I hear. And what happens to you? Charlie said. I go back to being Mr. Clean, said Kira, a tired smile on his face. Back to work. Charlie stepped out in front of him, glaring up at him. Back to killing, you mean? Kira shied away from her gaze. This was never going to work, Charlie. This is my fate, I can't fight it any more than I can change my nature. I'm sorry I wasted your time and caused all this trouble. If you'll excuse me. Charlie leaned against the door, her arms crossed. No. Kira blinked. No. No. Charlie said, smiling gently, gingerly turning him away from the door and tucking under his arm, supporting him. You've barely started your therapy. I'll decide when you're a lost cause, and not before you've shown me a few more recipes. Come on, let's get you to a shower and clean you up. Vaggie, grab your sewing kit and tell Razzle and Dazzle to prep the first aid station. Charlie. Vaggie exclaimed in shock. Vaggie, Charlie replied, her smile unwavering. Vaggie attempted to articulate some kind of response before slouching in defeat, sighing and nodding. Yeah, okay. Angel sauntered after them, a smug smile on his face. Vaggie scowled and reached out, grabbing him by the arm. And where are you going? Angel donned a sickeningly innocent expression. Me? I was just gonna help my buddy get cleaned up. If you hadn't noticed, he's down a paw and hill. Need a hand or six? Figured I'd do him a solid, like friends do. Do him a solid? Vaggie intoned, frowning. Or do him hard? Tomato. She pulled him along behind her. Come on. We got prep to do. But. Charlie led Kira into the bathroom and sat him down on the toilet, cranking the hot water in the shower, letting it run. She opened the sink cabinet and got out a bottle of Blood Be Gone and a fine-toothed comb. She picked up the bottle and shook it, half full. Cleaning the stuff from hair and fabric was so common in hell that there were a multitude of rival brands competing for the niche. Charlie preferred Blood Be Gone because it worked best with warm water and had a nice flowery scent, ideal for removal from hair in a nice relaxing hot shower. Movement out of the corner of her eye drew her attention. Kira was attempting to get undressed. Attempting being the operative word. Between his injured shoulder and missing hand, all he was accomplishing was ruffling his already disastrously rumpled jacket. He seemed to admit defeat and slouch, sighing in frustration. Charlie got to her feet and stepped over to him. Do you need a hand? He shot her a look over his shoulder, his BLD-crusted eye a narrow sliver of red and purple. Charlie's eyes went wide, her hands shot to her mouth. Oh. Oh my God, I didn't mean. A wide grin spread across his face and he threw his head back and laughed, holding up his stump. Ah. I get it. A hand. Ha ha ha. I'm so sorry. She said, mortified. It just slipped out. Wish I could just slip out of these clothes, Kira mumbled, fidgeting with the buttons of his undershirt. Let me help you get your clothes off. She offered, still a little flustered from her faux pas. Kira paused and eyed her suspiciously. Ms. Magna, are you just looking for an excuse to undress me? Charlie blushed and stammered something. Kira chuckled and hooked his finger around his collar. I'm just messin' witcha. I think Angel's a bad influence on you, Charlie grumbled, the blush still stubbornly burning in her cheeks. Oh, probably, TSK, this outfit's done for anyway. The jacket and shirt flashed briefly and slowly dissolved into smoke and ash, disintegrating right off of his body. Charlie watched the ash slowly fade from existence as it swirled through the air. Is that how you do it? The killing? Yes, he said, absently, doing the same to his pants. Well, it's one of the ways. The other way is a murder turtle. Kira smirked and snorted. Yeah. I guess it is a murder turtle. It's called sheer heart attack, and I summon it from my left hand. It's fast, indestructible, and will not stop until its targets are destroyed. It's my most powerful weapon. It used to be a tank, though, I don't know why it's a turtle now. If it's so powerful, why didn't you use it to defend yourself tonight? Charlie said, looking at his bloody wrist. Or is that why they? Kira hobbled over to the shower, thumb hooked in the elastics of his underwear. No. It's automatic, I can't control it beyond turning it on and off. If I summoned sheer heart attack tonight it would have killed everyone but me. Angel is not me, therefore. Charlie perked up. So, you put yourself in danger over Angel? Kira shrugged and nodded slowly. Well, yeah, I guess. That doesn't sound like something Mr. Clean would do. Charlie said, nudging him with her elbow. Seems to me like this place is leaving its mark on you. You think so? Kira said, hopefully. I'm getting better. Charlie nodded enthusiastically. Oh, yes. Even just from earlier today, you seem so much more, up. Chipper, even. You're smiling and laughing and cracking jokes. Ah, right, that, said Kira, amused. Now might be a good time to mention, I'm really high. Oh. Yeah, Angel's friend, the scary one with the eye, she put some, Molly, I think, into my drink and I've been just. Kira undulated his hand and wrist, a placid smile on his face. Whoosh all night long. Also, I'm pretty drunk, too. So, there's that. Charlie cleared her throat and laughed nervously. Well, you still didn't want to murder Angel, right? Yes. I would prefer that Angel not die, said Kira, nodding. See? Charlie cheered. That's improvement. It is? Yes. Charlie went in for a high five. Kira wound back his stump before stopping himself. He seemed to contemplate his limbs for a moment before awkwardly clapping her hand with his right. Yeah. Well, said Kira pointing at the shower. I think it's time I hit the showers. Now that I'm in an enclosed space, I can really smell the coffee grounds and used wet naps that were in that garbage can. Charlie nodded and scrunched her nose. Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but you might want to get on that. Right. I will. Kira paused and stared at her for a moment before clearing his throat and pointing at his underwear. So, I'm going to. Charlie started a bit before shooting him an apologetic smile. Oh, right, you probably want to. I'll just wait outside. If you need anything, just shout. She ducked out of the door, closing it behind her, smiling to herself. High or not, he was different, he was opening up, learning to care. Would a monster offer to DMN himself for people he'd known for only few days? It was working. Her program was working. There was still the whole, impending gang war, situation to deal with, but what if she could redeem him before they showed up? Not likely, but as her father would say, it'll sure like a fire under your butt. Of course, he probably meant that literally more often than not. A voice from within the shower, the tone harried and almost frantic. Oh, my God. Charlie burst through the door in an instant. What is it? What's wrong? Kira hobbled out from behind the frosted glass, sopping wet as whirls of steam trailed about his body. Oh, nothing. Just, this hot water feels really good. Oh. Charlie said, very pointedly not looking at his face. Okay, good, so long as you're not, Oh. Charlie, I may have overestimated my range of motion with this bad shoulder. Kira turned his back to her and jabbed a thumb stiffly over his shoulder, smiling innocently. Could you please shampoo my back? Charlie's eyes slowly drifted back up. I'm sorry, what? My back, he repeated. Could you get it for me? Oh. Charlie leapt to attention, unbuttoning and rolling back her sleeves. Of course. Our service can't be beat, after all. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 5. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author WriteAnon on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.